My beloved child, if you are hearing this right now, it is not an accident. It is not coincidence. It is not random scrolling. Heaven has interrupted your moment. God says, I will never talk to you if you skip now. A big tragedy is coming your way. I am trying to save your life. If you skip this, you will suffer great losses. Open this immediately before 11:59 p.m., before it's too late. Yes, those words may sound intense. They may feel urgent. But listen carefully. This is not about fear. This is about protection. This is about divine interruption before destruction finds an open door. There is a window in the Spirit that is closing tonight. And before 11:59 p.m., something must shift. You have been sensing it, haven't you? That strange tension, that subtle heaviness, that feeling that something is off but you cannot explain it. You tried to ignore it. You tried to distract yourself. But the Spirit kept nudging you. That nudge is not anxiety. It is not imagination. It is warning wrapped in mercy. God is not silent. He is speaking now because He refuses to let you walk blindly into something that could have been prevented. And here is the truth. There is a decision hanging over your head like a cloud. A conversation. A plan. A journey. A financial move. A trust you are about to place in someone. Heaven sees what you cannot see. There is a trap disguised as opportunity. There is a smile hiding deception. There is a door that looks golden, but leads to loss. And God says, if you skip this, you will miss the instruction that protects you. This is not manipulation. This is divine urgency. There are moments in life when timing matters more than effort, when a single act of obedience shifts an entire outcome. Tonight is one of those moments. You think you have time. You think tomorrow will be the same. But tomorrow depends on what you do today. There is something scheduled in the unseen realm. And unless you adjust your path, you will walk straight into emotional pain, financial setback, or relational heartbreak that could have been avoided. But listen carefully, God never warns without providing escape. He never exposes danger without offering direction. And this is where it becomes powerful. Because what is coming is not random chaos. It is a test of discernment. The enemy has been studying your weaknesses. He knows your pressure points. He knows what you have been praying for. And he plans to send a counterfeit answer. Something that looks like your breakthrough, but carries hidden cost. And if you move too fast, if you decide out of emotion, if you respond without prayer, the loss will be heavy. That is why heaven is shouting through this message. Before 11:59 p.m., you must pause. Before 11:59 p.m., you must pray. Before 11:59 p.m., you must cancel what feels rushed. Do not ignore this, because this is not about punishment. This is about preservation. And now, feel this shift. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior of protection. When God releases a warning, Michael moves with a sword of defense. But protection requires partnership. Heaven fights for those who listen. There is spiritual warfare surrounding your next step. You may not see it physically, but there is tension in the atmosphere around your home, around your plans, around your conversations. Have you noticed sudden misunderstandings, unexpected delays, unusual arguments, strange pressure to act quickly? These are not random. When breakthrough is close, distraction increases. When blessing approaches, deception tries to interrupt. And right now, the enemy is hoping you scroll away. He is hoping you dismiss this. He is hoping you say, this is just another video. Because if you ignore it, he gains access to your impatience. But if you stay, if you listen, if you align, you cancel what was designed to harm you. God says, I am trying to save your life. That does not always mean physical danger. Sometimes saving your life means protecting your peace, guarding your finances, shielding your reputation, preserving your destiny. There is a person connected to this warning. A woman whose influence around you is not what it seems. Her words carry subtle manipulation. Her energy shifts your confidence. Her presence brings confusion instead of clarity. You felt it, but you brushed it aside. Tonight, you cannot afford to brush it aside. Before 11:59 p.m., you must create distance from rushed decisions connected to her. Do not confront aggressively. Do not accuse emotionally. Simply step back. Silence can be protection. Archangel Michael is positioning himself around your household. But divine protection activates fully when you respond in obedience. You are not being threatened. You are being rescued. And here is the deeper revelation. If you had skipped this, you would have moved tomorrow with false confidence. You would have signed something, agreed to something, trusted something, or revealed something too soon. And the consequences would have unfolded slowly, but painfully. This message is the interruption. This is the mercy. This is the lifeline. Before 11:59 p.m., do one thing. Pray for discernment. Cancel impulsive action. Delay any emotionally charged decision. Heaven is buying you time. The tragedy that was forming can be dissolved. The loss that was aligning can be redirected. The suffering that was preparing to enter can be blocked. But only if you respond. God did not force obedience. He invites it. And right now, the invitation is urgent. You are not here by accident. You were called to this moment. Now breathe. Feel the weight lifting already. That is protection moving. Beloved soul, lean in closer now, because what I am about to reveal explains why this warning feels so urgent. There is a pattern that has been forming quietly around you. It did not begin today. It did not even begin this week. For months, subtle shifts have been happening in your environment. Small compromises, tiny distractions, delayed prayers, emotional exhaustion. You told yourself it was normal. You told yourself everyone goes through seasons like this. But in the spiritual realm, those small openings were being observed. God is not reacting in panic. He is responding with precision. The tragedy mentioned is not random chaos falling from the sky. It is a chain reaction that was slowly aligning through choices, influences, and timing. And if left unchecked, it would create a ripple effect touching your finances, your emotional stability, and even your purpose. There is something scheduled to happen very soon. A conversation that seems harmless. A proposal that sounds exciting. A decision that feels overdue. But underneath it lies hidden imbalance. You may feel pressure to act quickly. Pressure to prove yourself. Pressure to secure something before someone else does. That pressure is not from God. Divine guidance brings clarity and peace, even when it is urgent. Confusion mixed with urgency is a red flag. Archangel Michael is not only a warrior of defense, he is a guardian of timing. When heaven delays something, it is not denial. It is strategy. And right now, delay is your protection. You must understand this deeply. The enemy does not always attack with obvious destruction. Sometimes he sends acceleration. He speeds you up so you outrun your discernment. He makes you feel like if you do not act now, you will lose everything. But what if acting too fast is exactly what causes the loss? This is why God said, "Open this immediately before 11:59 p.m." It is about alignment before action. It is about correction before consequence. There is also a spiritual exhaustion that has made you vulnerable. You have been carrying responsibilities quietly, smiling outwardly while wrestling inwardly. That silent fatigue lowers your spiritual alertness. And when alertness drops, deception becomes harder to detect. But heaven has not abandoned you. Archangel Michael stands positioned because something significant is tied to your next move. Your destiny carries weight. Your calling carries influence. And when purpose is valuable, attacks become strategic. There is someone observing you closely. Their interest appears supportive, but their motives are not fully pure. This does not mean paranoia. It means discernment. You must stop oversharing your plans. Stop revealing your next steps before they are secured. Silence will shield you. If this message is stirring something in your spirit right now, do not ignore that stirring. That is confirmation. And if you know someone else who needs this warning, share this message with them immediately. Let this be a shield not only for you but for others connected to you. Also, show your agreement by liking this video and commenting that you are choosing discernment over impulse. Subscribe and become part of this growing movement of awakened believers. When you engage, you amplify this protective word to reach more souls who are standing at dangerous crossroads without realizing it. Now listen carefully because this part matters deeply. The tragedy can still be canceled. Nothing is fixed yet. Nothing is sealed. But what happens next depends on your response tonight. Before 11:59 p.m., take intentional action. Pray with focus. Speak protection over your home. Cancel any right commitments. Delay signing anything. Postpone emotionally charged conversation. Archangel Michael responds to alignment. When you choose wisdom over haste, heaven strengthens its shield around you. There is also a financial trap attempting to appear attractive. It may look like quick growth, easy profit, or a solution to current stress. But it carries imbalance. If you slow down and seek counsel, you will notice the flaws. If you rush, you will overlook them. You are being given advance notice. Many people only recognize danger after damage. But you are being warned before impact. Do not let pride convince you that you already know everything. Humility unlocks protection. Pray specifically for clarity regarding the woman connected to this situation. Do not accuse. Do not react emotionally. Observe quietly. Patterns reveal truth over time. And here's something powerful. When heaven interrupts you like this, it means you are valued. Warnings are reserved for those whose future matters. You might feel shaken. That is okay. Being shaken now prevents being shattered later. The atmosphere around you is shifting even as you listen. Protection is forming like invisible walls. But you must cooperate. Obedience completes what warning begins. Something hidden is about to surface. Something that would have caused shock later will be exposed gently instead. But that exposure requires patience. Take a deep breath. Feel the urgency transform into strategy. What you are about to discover next will uncover why this specific timing, before midnight, holds spiritual significance that most people overlook. Hold that thought with me, because what comes next will connect every dot in a way you did not expect. Chosen one, something is shifting in the unseen realm as this hour approaches. The reason the warning carries the weight of before 11:59 p.m. is not superstition. It is not drama. It is spiritual timing. There are moments when cycles close, when spiritual doors either seal shut or swing open. Midnight represents transition. It represents the crossing point between what was and what will be. And tonight, a transition is hovering over your life. God is not trying to frighten you. He is trying to position you correctly before the shift locks in place. Because once certain decisions are made, they set momentum into motion. And momentum is harder to stop than a single step. There has been a silent agreement forming around you. Not a spoken contract, but an emotional alignment. You were slowly leaning towards something without realizing the long-term cost. You justified it. You minimized the warning signs. You convinced yourself that it was harmless. But heaven saw the full picture. Archangel Michael was dispatched not after destruction happened, but before it. That alone should tell you how valuable you are. Protection was assigned in advance. Shield was raised before the arrow fully launched. The tragedy that was forming was not immediate disaster. It was gradual erosion, a draining of your peace, a leaking of your resources, a misalignment in your destiny path. The kind of loss that happens quietly until one day you wake up and wonder how everything slipped. But God interrupted it. The woman connected to this message is not random. Her role may not even be intentionally harmful. Sometimes people operate from their own wounds, their own insecurity, their own hidden motives. But whether intentional or not, her influence around you is not aligned with your highest good. You may have felt unusually defensive when others questioned her. That defensiveness was emotional entanglement, and emotional entanglement clouds discernment. Tonight, before midnight, you must spiritually detach from any influence that pressures you, confuses you, or subtly redirects your focus away from what God originally showed you. This is not about cutting people off grammatically. It is about regaining spiritual clarity. It is about reclaiming your authority. Because here's the deeper layer. There was going to be a conversation soon. A revealing moment. Something that would expose hidden intentions. But if you had moved too early, you would have reacted instead of observed. And reaction would have cost you. God is slowing you down so exposure can happen naturally. Archangel Michael stands as guardian over truth. When truth surfaces, it does not need force. It reveals itself. You are being positioned to witness what was hidden without being damaged by it. That is why skipping this would have been costly. Not because God would stop loving you, but because you would have missed the alignment window. You would have walked into midnight unaware, carrying emotional momentum that would have sealed unnecessary struggle. Now the shift can happen differently. Instead of entering the next day in vulnerability, you will enter it in awareness. Instead of stepping forward impulsively, you will step carefully. Instead of trusting blindly, you will observe wisely. And this changes everything. Before 11:59 p.m., pray specifically for 3 things: clarity, patience, and courage. Clarity to see what is real. Patience to wait for confirmation. Courage to step back if needed. There is also a financial thread tied to this. A decision that seemed profitable may reveal imbalance. Do not rush. Delay is not failure. Delay is strategy. Feel the seriousness of this moment without fear. This is divine intervention, not doom. The tragedy was never your destiny. It was a possibility, and possibilities can be canceled. As midnight approaches, declare protection over your home. Speak peace into your atmosphere. Ask Archangel Michael to guard every doorway, physical and spiritual. And now, as this revelation seals in your spirit, respond in faith. Type "I receive divine protection" in the comments if this message resonates deeply with you. Lesson code 444 is now activated over your household. Heaven is marking this moment. Support the spreading of this protective word. When you release super thanks, join membership, or so through the PayPal link in the description, you are not funding a platform. You are advancing a shield for countless souls standing at dangerous crossroads. The Lord says, as you sow, so shall you reap, pressed down and overflowing. This is your moment of obedience. If this warning preserved you tonight, let your seed become oil that keeps this lamp burning for others. Those who give in faith will see doors guarded and paths cleared. Do not delay your obedience. Act now and let your generosity become part of someone else's rescue. Faithful one, now that the immediate danger hath been slowed, you must understand what was happening behind the curtain. There are spiritual patterns that repeat themselves in cycles. If you look back over the last 3 years of your life, you will notice something strange. Just when you were about to step into stability, something disrupted it. Just when your finances began to grow, an unexpected expense appeared. Just when your heart felt secure, confusion entered through a relationship. This was not coincidence. It was a pattern seeking permission. The enemy studies patterns. He observes how you respond to stress. He learns how you react to flattery. He notices when loneliness makes you compromise. And then he sends a familiar setup wrapped in new packaging. That is what was forming again. It looked different on the outside, but the spiritual root was the same. Emotional pressure mixed with urgency. Opportunity mixed with subtle manipulation. Excitement mixed with quiet unease. And because you have grown stronger recently, the strategy had to become more refined. Archangel Michael does not fight random battles. He engages where destiny is involved. The reason protection intensified now is because your next season carries unusual weight. There is elevation ahead of you. There is expansion tied to your obedience in this hour. When elevation approaches, opposition increases. The woman connected to this situation represents more than a person. She represents distraction disguised as alignment. Her presence in your life may have started innocently. Perhaps she offered support. Perhaps she understood your struggles. Perhaps she seemed to believe in your vision. But slowly, subtly, the dynamic shifted. You began adjusting your plans to accommodate her opinions. You began doubting instincts that once felt clear. You began explaining yourself more than usual. That is not partnership. That is influence shifting your center. God is not accusing her. He is revealing the imbalance. There is a difference between agreement and assignment. Not everyone who agrees with you is assigned to walk your next season with you. This is where discernment becomes critical. You must examine conversations from the past few weeks. Were there moments where something felt slightly off, but you ignored it? Were there comments that sounded supportive but carried hidden comparison? Were there suggestions that redirected you away from what God originally placed in your heart? These are subtle indicators. The tragedy forming was not instant collapse. It was gradual detour. And detours waste time, energy, and resources. Archangel Michael's role here is to cut off spiritual attachments that were forming too tightly. Emotional dependency can quietly replace divine dependence. And when that happens, decisions become human-centered instead of spirit-led. You are being called back to center. There is also something else you must recognize. The urgency before 11:59 p.m. symbolized a cutoff point. But spiritually, it also represented awareness. Once you are aware, you are accountable. Once truth is revealed, you cannot pretend you did not see it. That is why this moment feels heavy. Awareness carries responsibility. However, Do not mistake responsibility for burden. This is empowerment. You are not a victim in this story. You are a participant in your protection. Heaven initiated the warning, but you complete it through obedience. There may be resistance when you begin to pull back slightly. You may notice subtle guilt tactics. You may sense emotional shifts. That is confirmation that detachment was necessary. Do not argue. Do not defend excessively. Simply your position. There is also a practical action required. Review any agreements, verbal or written, that are pending. Slow them down. Seek wise counsel from someone spiritually mature and emotionally neutral. Do not rely solely on your feelings right now. Feelings can be sincere and still misled. The next few days will reveal more clarity than you expect. Truth has a way of surfacing when patience replaces impulse. And here is something powerful you must hold on to. This interruption did not delay your blessing. It refined it. What is meant for you will not disappear because you chose wisdom. In fact, choosing discernment accelerates authentic opportunities. Archangel Michael is not only defending you from loss, he's guarding the integrity of your calling. There is something significant attached to your name in the future. A project, a leadership role, a platform, a responsibility. If you had stepped into the forming trap, it would have entangled your credibility. Protection now preserves impact layer. You may feel slightly unsettled as relationships recalibrate. That is normal. Growth often disrupts unhealthy comfort. But peace will follow. Watch carefully over the next 48 hours. Pay attention to unexpected revelations. Notice who becomes defensive when you create space. Observe who respects your boundaries without pressure. These observations are answers. Heaven is not finished speaking. There is a deeper layer to the situation involving timing and alignment that is about to unfold. Prepare your spirit, because what comes next will explain why this warning was not only about avoiding loss, but about stepping into something greater than you imagined. Warrior of faith, what you are experiencing right now is the space between interruption and revelation. When God interrupts a path, there is often a quiet pause before the full truth unfolds. That pause can feel uncomfortable. You may feel uncertain. You may question whether you are overthinking. You may wonder if perhaps you misunderstood the warning. This is the testing ground of discernment. The enemy's strategy now is subtle. Since the direct path of harm has been blocked, confusion tries to creep in. Thoughts like, maybe it was nothing. Maybe I am being too cautious. Maybe I should just move forward like I plan. But listen carefully. Peace is steady. Pressure is loud. If the situation still carries pressure, urgency, or emotional tension, that is your signal to maintain distance. Archangel Michael does not retreat after raising a shield. He stands guard until the threat fully dissolves. There is something else forming that you must understand. When you choose obedience, it exposes hidden agendas faster. What would have taken months to reveal will now surface in days. Watch the reactions. When you delay a decision, notice who becomes impatient. When you ask for time, notice who tries to override your boundaries. When you choose prayer over impulse, notice who dismisses it. Reactions reveal intentions. A woman connected to this message may soon show subtle shifts. There may be inconsistency in her words, small contradictions, emotional overreactions to simple boundaries. These are not coincidences. They are cracks in the mask. Do not confront prematurely. Observation is your advantage right now. Archangel Michael operates in strategic silence. Battles are not always loud. Sometimes protection looks like restraint. There is also a financial element that continues to hover. A proposal, a collaboration, or a shared investment that seemed promising may begin to reveal fine print you initially overlooked. Details that were vague will demand clarity. Numbers that looked attractive will require scrutiny. Do not ignore details. Heaven is sharpening your discernment through this moment. What once passed unnoticed will now stand out clearly. That is growth. And here is the deeper revelation that many miss. The tragedy was not only about potential loss. It was about distraction from elevation. There is a breakthrough waiting for you, but it requires focus. The enemy's goal was to entangle your attention in emotional drama so you would miss a divine opportunity approaching quietly. Sometimes the greatest attack is not destruction, it is distraction. If your energy becomes consumed by relational tension or rushed decisions, you will lack clarity to recognize the real door God is opening. Over the next few days, expect an unexpected opportunity that feels calm instead of chaotic. It will not pressure you. It will not demand immediate commitment. It will align naturally with your long-term vision. That is the door protected for you. The interruption before 11:59 p.m. was not to restrict you. It was to redirect you. There is also something happening within your own heart. You are learning to trust your inner warning system again. In the past, you ignored red flags because you did not want conflict. You prioritized harmony over honesty. But harmony built on compromise always collapses eventually. This time is different. This time, you are choosing courage. Archangel Michael stands not only outside you as protection, but symbolically within you as strength. The warrior spirit is awakening. You are becoming less easily swayed, less easily rushed, less easily manipulated. And that transformation is powerful. Do not underestimate how significant this moment is. The shift happening now will affect decisions for years ahead. You are breaking a cycle of emotional entanglement and impulsive agreements. Cycles do not break quietly. They resist. You may feel subtle spiritual opposition in the form of strange dreams, restless thoughts, or sudden doubts. Counter them with prayer. Speak peace over your mind before sleep. Ask for clarity, and it will come. Truth is aligning in your favor. There is also restoration attached to this. The resources that might have been drained will now be preserved. The time that could have been wasted will now be invested wisely. The emotional energy that could have been depleted will now be redirected toward purpose. You were closer to loss than you realized, but you were also closer to breakthrough than you imagined. That is why heaven moved quickly. In the coming hours, something small but significant will confirm this message. It may be a conversation. It may be a delay that suddenly makes sense. It may be information that surfaces unexpectedly. When it happens, do not panic. Simply recognize it as validation. The story is not over. In fact, the most important revelation about why this warning came specifically at this season of your life is about to unfold. Prepare your heart, because what comes next will show you how this near miss was actually preparation for elevation beyond what you asked for. Brave heart, now you are standing in the aftermath of a battle that almost happened but did not. Do you realize how powerful that is? Most people only understand spiritual warfare after they suffer the consequences. They look back and say, I should have listened. But you were warned in advance. You were awakened before impact. That alone separates you from cycles that have trapped you in the past. Yet the story is still unfolding. The enemy does not celebrate loudly when a trap fails. He adjusts quietly. Since the direct route of tragedy has been blocked, the new strategy is subtle discouragement. Thoughts like, nothing was really going to happen. You made it bigger than it was. You overreacted. But let me make this clear in your spirit. Protection often feels invisible because disaster did not occur. Just because you do not see the accident does not mean the collision was not scheduled. Archangel Michael does not exaggerate threats. He intercepts them. There was a chain reaction waiting to be triggered. One rushed decision would have led to another. One emotional response would have unlocked further complications. And slowly, quietly, you would have found yourself brained and confused. Now that chain is broken. However, breaking a chain creates space. And space must be filled intentionally. If you do not fill it with prayer, clarity, and wise action, distraction will try to occupy it again. This is the season to rebuild your inner structure. Start by strengthening your daily spiritual discipline. Even small consistency matters. 5 focused minutes of prayer is stronger than an hour of distracted thought. Speak protection over your home every morning. Ask for discernment before every significant conversation. You are not becoming paranoid. You are becoming prepared. There is also something else you must do. Review your boundaries. Not aggressively, not defensively, but clearly. Boundaries are not walls against love. They are filters for alignment. A woman connected to this message may sense your shift. She may attempt to reestablish closeness quickly. Watch for urgency disguised as affection. Watch for emotional narratives designed to make you feel responsible for her stability. You are not assigned to carry someone else's unresolved patterns. Archangel Michael symbolizes righteous strength. Strength does not argue loudly. It stands firmly. If this message has been protecting you and opening your eyes, make sure you engage with it. Like this video as a declaration that you choose wisdom over impulse. Share it with someone who might be walking into a similar trap without realizing it. Comment below that you are standing under divine protection. And subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to messages that sharpen your discernment. When you actively participate, you help this protective word reach more people who are one decision away from unnecessary loss. Now understand something deeper. The midnight warning was not only about prevention. It was about timing alignment. There is a door that was meant to open for you, but it required emotional maturity you did not fully carry before this moment. This near miss has refined you. You now pause before reacting. You question before committing. You pray before agreeing. These habits will unlock doors that remain closed to impulsive people. In the coming week, a conversation will present itself that feels calm and respectful. Notice the difference. There will be no pressure, no hidden tension, no manipulation. That conversation carries opportunity. Discernment is not just about rejecting wrong doors. It is about recognizing right ones. Financial clarity is also returning. An idea that once seemed risky may now reveal a more stable alternative. Be patient. Stability is greater than speed. And here is something that may surprise you. The very person who could have contributed to your loss may eventually expose herself through inconsistency. Not because you attack her, but because truth cannot remain hidden under light for long. When exposure happens, respond with dignity. Do not celebrate it. Do not gossip about it. Simply thank God for confirmation and move forward. Archangel Michael's presence over your life is not temporary. It symbolizes a season of fortified boundaries and elevated awareness. You are stepping into a phase where fewer things will catch you off guard. That is growth. There may still be moments of doubt. That is human. But doubt should not control you. Return to what you felt when you first heard the warning. That inner check was real. You were being guided. The next revelation will show you how this interruption is connected to a larger assignment over your life, one that extends beyond personal protection and into influence. Stay attentive, because what unfolds next will reveal why this season marks the beginning of a stronger, wiser version of you that cannot be easily manipulated again. Steadfast one, what you thought was merely a warning about loss is now revealing itself as preparation for leadership. There is a reason the interruption felt intense. There is a reason the timing felt urgent. It is because you are not just being protected for survival. You are being shaped for responsibility. When God guards someone this deliberately, it is because their future carries weight that affects others. You were moments away from stepping into a distraction that would have consumed your focus. Not destroyed you instantly, but diluted you slowly. And diluted leaders cannot carry heavy assignments. Archangel Michael's presence over your situation was not random defense. It was strategic preservation. Heaven does not mobilize protection at that level unless purpose is involved. Now you must ask yourself something honestly. What have you been sensing about your future that you have been hesitant to fully embrace? Is there a calling stirring inside you? A project you have delayed? A leadership role you felt unqualified for? The enemy attacks where destiny threatens him most. The woman connected to this warning was not just a relational complication. She represented misalignment during a season that required clarity. Emotional entanglement during a time that demanded focus. Subtle redirection during a moment that required precision. But you paused, and that pause has changed your trajectory. Something powerful is happening inside you now. You are becoming more observant, more composed, less reactive. You are recognizing that not every emotional pull deserves your energy. That maturity is a sign of elevation. There is also something spiritual unfolding. The midnight symbolism marked not just danger, but transition. You have crossed into a new awareness. You will never again ignore it or warnings the way you once did. This is growth earned through near miss. Archangel Michael symbolizes divine order. And order is returning to your life. The chaos that tried to swirl around your decisions is settling. Your thoughts are clear. Your priorities are sharpening. In the coming days, you may notice a desire to simplify, to reduce noise, to reorganize your environment. Follow that instinct. Physical order often reflects spiritual clarity. There is also restoration coming in areas where you felt drained. Energy that was leaking through emotional tension is being reclaimed. Finances that could have slipped away are stabilizing. Confidence that felt shaken is strengthening. The tragedy that almost happened has now become a testimony forming in advance. But do not become complacent. Protection requires continued awareness. The enemy rarely repeats the same strategy in the same form. He adapts. And so must you. One of the greatest shifts happening now is in your voice. You are learning to say no without guilt. You are learning to delay without apology. You are learning to question without fear. These are leadership quality. A woman may attempt one final effort to regain emotional influence. It may appear subtle. Perhaps a kind gesture. Perhaps a nostalgic conversation. Perhaps a reminder of shared history. Stay steady. Discernment does not mean suspicion. It means awareness. You are not required to sever connections harshly, but you are required to maintain boundaries clearly. Archangel Michael does not abandon a post halfway through a watch. He stands until stability is secured. Likewise, you must remain consistent in your caution until patterns fully reveal themselves. There is something else unfolding beneath the surface. An opportunity connected to your purpose is drawing closer. It may involve collaboration, visibility, or responsibility, and it requires you to be mentally and emotionally unentangled. If you had walked into the forming trap, your attention would have been divided, your clarity compromised, your credibility questioned. Now you stand free. The coming season will require wise partnerships, people aligned in spirit and vision, not those driven by insecurity or hidden motives. This warning was refining your discernment for future alliances. You may also experience an increased sensitivity to spiritual atmosphere. Rooms will feel different. Conversations will carry clearer undertones. Trust the awareness. It is not paranoia. It is sharpening. There is strength building in your silence. You are no longer rushing to explain yourself, no longer overcommitting to prove loyalty, no longer ignoring discomfort to keep peace. Peace that costs integrity is not peace. As this chapter continues unfolding, remember that you were warned because you were valued. You were protected because you were positioned. And you were interrupted because you were destined for something that required maturity. The next revelation will connect this personal protection to a broader assignment. You are about to see how this experience prepares you not only to guard yourself, but to guide others through similar crossroads. Stay steady, because what is coming next will show you why the season marks the beginning of a higher level of spiritual authority in your life. Anointed One. What began as a warning is now unfolding as commissioning. Here's a difference between being saved from something and being prepared for something. In the beginning, this felt like rescue. Now it is becoming refinement. God did not only block a tragedy, He revealed your capacity for spiritual authority. You listened. That simple act separated you from an outcome that would have quietly drained your strength. And because you listened, Heaven is trusting you with greater awareness. Archangel Michael is not only a defender, he is a symbol of righteous leadership. His presence in this season of your life signals that you are being trained to stand guard not just over your own decisions, but over atmospheres you influence. You may not see yourself as a leader. You may think your life is ordinary. But spiritual authority is not measured by public titles. It is measured by discernment, courage, and obedience. You demonstrated all three. The woman connected to this warning is now part of a closed chapter, not necessarily removed but repositioned. Her role in your life has shifted. The emotional weight she carried over your decisions has been lifted. If you observe carefully, you will notice the dynamic has changed. Either distance has grown naturally, or clarity has redefined interaction. That shift is protection settling into permanence. The tragedy that almost formed is now impossible in its original design. The door has been sealed, but something else has opened. You are stepping into a season where your voice carries influence. People around you will begin seeking your advice more frequently. They will notice your calm responses. They will feel your stability. They will sense that you see what others overlook. This is not coincidence. It is preparation. Because you experienced warning before impact, you now understand the value of discernment. And soon, someone close to you will face a similar crossroad. Your wisdom will become their shield. That is how purpose multiplies. There is also an internal transformation happening. You are no longer easily flattered. You are no longer rushed by fear of missing out. You are no longer manipulated by emotional urgency. You have crossed into a new level of composure. Archangel Michael's symbolic sword represents cutting through illusion. Illusion once had access to your empathy. You wanted to believe the best so strongly that you ignored subtle signs. But now, belief and wisdom walk together. This balance is powerful. Financial clarity continues to stabilize. Ideas that once felt urgent now feel optional. You are choosing long-term security over short-term excitement. That maturity will compound into tangible blessing. And here is something profound. The midnight warning was also a spiritual test. Would you respond to divine prompting, or would you dismiss it? Your response unlocked a new layer of trust between you and heaven. When God sees obedience in small windows of urgency, He releases larger responsibilities. Expect increased spiritual sensitivity in the coming weeks. Dreams may become clearer, intuition sharper, conversations more revealing. Do not be afraid of this. It is alignment. But with increased authority comes increased responsibility. Guard your speech. Guard your time. Guard your emotional energy. Not everyone deserves full access to you. There will be moments where you feel tempted to explain the shift to those who noticed it. Resist over-explaining. Your peace does not require validation. Archangel Michael stands firmly without apology. Learn from that posture. You were spared from a subtle erosion of purpose. Now you are being strengthened to carry influence without compromise. Type "I walk in discernment" in the comments if you feel this elevation in your spirit. Blessing code 818 is now activated over your calling. Heaven is marking those who respond with awareness. And now, as this commissioning settles in your heart, hear this extension of the message. You were protected because this word needed to reach you. But there are others standing at similar crossroads tonight. When you release super thanks, join membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping light torches in dark places. The Lord declares, those who sow beside still waters will reap in due season. Let your giving become oil in the lamp that keeps these warnings burning bright. This is not charity. This is partnership and rescue. As you act, may doors open before you and protection multiply around your household. Obey the prompting in your spirit and move now. The story is not ending here. What comes next will reveal how the season of protection transforms into visible favor that even those who doubted you will recognize. Awakened soul, now you are entering the visible evidence of what was handled in the unseen. Protection often works quietly at first. It blocks, it redirects, it shields. But after the shield holds, something else begins to happen. Favor starts to surface. You may have already noticed subtle shifts. Conversations that once felt tense now feel neutral. Situations that once seemed complicated are resolving without struggle. Opportunities that required forcing are now appearing naturally. This is not coincidence. This is alignment after obedience. When you chose to pause before midnight, when you stepped back instead of stepping forward impulsively, you altered more than one outcome. You signaled to heaven that you value instruction over emotion. Archangel Michael's assignment in your life was never about creating fear. It was about preserving momentum. And now that preservation is turning into progress, the woman connected to this earlier tension is no longer holding the same emotional weight in your mind. Even if she remains present in some capacity, her influence has weakened. You see more clearly. You respond more calmly. You are no longer reacting from attachment but from awareness. That is power regained. You may even begin to notice inconsistencies that confirm everything you sensed. Small details may surface. Stories may not align. Behavior may reveal hidden motives. When this happens, do not feel anger. Feel gratitude. You were warned before damage. And here is something deeper unfolding. The space that was once occupied by confusion is now being filled with clarity about your purpose. You are thinking more strategically, planning more wisely, protecting your time more intentionally. This is not random maturity. It is the result of a battle that never fully manifested because it was intercepted. There is also restoration happening in your confidence. The doubt that tried to settle in your spirit is dissolving. You are trusting your instincts again. You are listening to inner checks instead of overriding them. Archangel Michael represents unwavering stance, and you are learning to stand without wavering. Financially, there may be unexpected stability arriving. Perhaps an expense you feared does not materialize. Perhaps a new idea begins to show promise. Perhaps a door opens that requires less risk than the previous option you almost chose. These are signs of recalibration. You were about to invest energy into something that would not yield the harvest you expected. Now that energy is being redirected toward fertile ground. Watch carefully over the next few days. Someone may approach you with respect rather than pressure. They may offer collaboration without urgency. They may value your boundaries instead of testing them. A difference will feel peaceful. Discernment is not only about spotting danger. It is about recognizing safety. And something beautiful is happening inside you. You are no longer desperate for validation. You are no longer chasing affirmation. You are comfortable with slow confirmation. That internal stability attracts healthier connections. The enemy attempted to rush you because rushed people overlook details. But patient people build foundations. You are becoming foundational. There may still be subtle tests, small invitations to return to old patterns. Perhaps a message that triggers nostalgia. Perhaps a reminder of how things used to feel. Observe those moments carefully. They are final echoes of a closed door. Do not reopen what was sealed for your protection. Archangel Michael's symbolic shield remains, but now it is less about blocking harm and more about maintaining clarity. You have crossed from reactive living into intentional living. There is also something significant approaching tied to visibility. It may not be public fame, but it will involve being seen in a new way. Perhaps your ideas gain recognition. Perhaps your leadership is acknowledged. Perhaps your voice carries further than before. Had you stepped into the forming trap, that visibility would have been clouded by distraction. Now it will be cleaned. Favor flows more freely when alignment is secure. Continue guarding your peace. Continue pausing before major decisions. Continue praying before commitments. The transformation happening now is not temporary. It is foundational. What began as a midnight warning has evolved into a season shift. And the next revelation will uncover how this shift positions you not only for personal stability, but for influence that extends beyond your immediate circle in ways you have not yet imagined. Faithful guardian, you are no longer the same person who first heard that urgent warning. Something inside you has stabilized. Something has matured. And now you are beginning to see how close you were to a turning point that could have gone either way. The tragedy that was forming did not announce itself loudly. It was subtle, layered, and disguised as normal progression. That is why the warning had to be urgent. That is why the timing mattered. Because subtle traps require sharp interruption. And you responded. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence over your life in this season represents more than defense. It represents promotion through discernment. You were tested quietly. Would you pause? Would you pray? Would you delay gratification? And you did. Now the fruit of that obedience is beginning to show. You may notice that your mind feels clearer when making decisions. You are less emotionally swayed. You are no longer easily intimidated by urgency. When someone pressures you now, you sense it immediately. When something feels misaligned, you do not ignore it. This is not coincidence. It is growth earned through spiritual awareness. The woman who once carried influence in your decisions no longer holds that position. Even if communication continues, it no longer controls your direction. You have stepped back into authority over your own path. That authority is attractive to the right people. New alignments are forming. People who respect your boundaries. People who value clarity. People who do not manipulate through urgency. Watch how different these interactions feel. They will feel steady rather than intense, calm rather than dramatic. Discernment has become your filter. Financially and practically, you are also entering a more stable rhythm. You are thinking long-term. You are analyzing before committing. You are no longer chasing fast outcomes, and that patience will protect your resources. But listen carefully. With elevation comes visibility, and with visibility comes new forms of testing. Now that you are operating from clarity, the enemy may attempt distraction through praise instead of pressure, compliments instead of conflict, invitations that seem harmless but subtly shift your focus. Stay centered. Archangel Michael stands firm regardless of applause or opposition. Learn from that posture. Do not let either criticism or praise move you off balance. If this message has sharpened your awareness and strengthened your decisions, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video as a sign that you choose spiritual clarity over emotional impulse. Share it with someone who might be on the edge of a rushed decision. Comment below that you are walking in wisdom and protection. And subscribe to remain connected to messages that guard your path. When you engage, you help this word reach people who are one step away from preventable loss. Hold on, because what unfolds next will connect your personal breakthrough to something far bigger than you expected. There is something else happening beneath the surface. You are becoming a reference point for others. People may not say it directly, but they observe your steadiness. They notice that you are less reactive. They sense that you do not rush into commitments anymore. Your calm will become counsel. Soon, someone close to you will face a decision that mirrors what you almost walked into. They will feel confused and pressured and uncertain, and you will recognize the signs immediately. This is where your experience transforms into assignment. You will not preach at them. You will not control them. But your questions will guide them. Your composure will reassure them. Your story, even if shared briefly, will illuminate their path. This is how influence multiplies. The midnight moment was not only about avoiding tragedy. It was about initiating leadership. There is also favor aligning with your obedience. An opportunity that once seemed delayed may reappear under better conditions. A conversation that once felt tense may reopen with clarity. A plan that once seemed risky may now present a safer route. These are signs that you chose correctly. Do not underestimate the power of one obedient pause. It can alter years of outcome. Continue strengthening your spiritual discipline. Continue guarding your time. Continue evaluating influences carefully. The next revelation will uncover how this entire season was not random interruption, but divine positioning for a platform of greater impact than you have yet imagined. Steady one, you are now standing on ground that feels different beneath your feet. The urgency that once surrounded you has faded. The confusion that once hovered has cleared. And in its place, there is something stronger than excitement and deeper than relief. There is conviction. Conviction is the quiet confidence that you heard correctly and acted wisely. When the warning first came, it felt dramatic. It felt intense. It felt almost overwhelming. But now you can see why it had to be that way. Subtle traps require strong interruption. Gentle whispers would not have broken the emotional momentum forming around you. Archangel Michael's symbolic intervention in your life during this season was not about spectacle. It was about structure. Your internal structure needed reinforcement before elevation. And elevation is no longer a distant idea. It is approaching. You may begin noticing increased responsibility in small forms. Perhaps more people ask for your opinion. Perhaps opportunities to guide or organize begin appearing. Perhaps you feel an internal push to step forward instead of shrinking back. This is growth maturing into leadership. The woman who once held emotional influence over your decisions is no longer central in your thinking. Whether she remains in your life or fades into distance, her role has shifted permanently. You no longer seek her approval. You no longer measure your direction by her reaction. That is freedom. Freedom is not loud. It is stable. There may still be moments where memories surface and attempt to stir doubt. What if I misjudged? What if I overreacted? But then clarity returns quickly. The peace you feel now is evidence. Chaos does not produce peace. Alignment does. You are aligned again. There is something profound happening beneath the surface of your daily life. Your discernment is becoming instinctive. You no longer need dramatic signs to sense misalignment. A small internal check is enough. A subtle shift in tone is enough. A slight inconsistency in behavior is enough. This heightened awareness is not suspicion. It is sharpening. Archangel Michael symbolizes watchfulness without anxiety. And that is what you are learning. To observe without fear. To evaluate without paranoia. To act without haste. The tragedy that was once possible now feels distant, almost unreal. That is how effective divine interruption can be. It removes danger so completely that you forget how close it was. But do not forget the lesson. The lesson is that urgency combined with emotional pressure is rarely divine timing. True opportunity does not collapse when you request time to pray. Authentic alignment does not manipulate through fear of loss. Carry that wisdom forward. Financial and practical stability continues to strengthen around you. The decisions you delayed are revealing their flaws more clearly now. Information that was once hidden is becoming obvious. You may even feel grateful that things slowed down. Gratitude is a sign of growth. There is also restoration in your inner voice. You trust yourself again, not in arrogance but in awareness. You understand that God can guide you through impressions, checks, and subtle warnings. This trust will serve you repeatedly in the future. Soon, you will face a new opportunity that mirrors the old one in form, but not in spirit. It will seem similar on the surface, but the atmosphere around it will feel peaceful. That is your confirmation of discernment matured. Do not let past fear block future blessing. Discernment protects you from wrong doors, not from all doors. You are not called to isolation. You are called to wise connection. In the coming season, partnerships will form that honor your boundaries instead of testing them. Conversations will happen that clarify rather than confuse. Invitations will arise that align naturally instead of forcing urgency. This is what elevation looks like when entered through obedience. You were not saved merely from loss. You were positioned for clarity. And now, as this journey approaches its final revelation, you must prepare for one last understanding. The warning before midnight was not only about you. It was about timing in the spiritual realm. There was a cycle attempting to repeat, and you broke it. Breaking cycles shifts generations. The final revelation will show you how this moment marks the beginning of a new pattern in your life, one of protection, precision, and purpose operating together. Prepare your spirit, because what comes next will seal this season with authority and blessing. Beloved of the Most High, this is the sealing of the matter. What began as an urgent warning before 11:59 p.m. has now revealed itself as a divine turning point. You were not simply being protected from a single mistake. You were being delivered from a repeating cycle. For years, there were patterns that tried to follow you. Emotional urgency. Pressure disguised as opportunity. Connections that slowly drained more than they built. Each time, you navigated the aftermath. Each time, you recovered. But recovery is not the same as prevention. This time, you were warned before impact. That is the difference. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence over this entire season represents something powerful. Cycles have been broken at the root. Not trimmed. Not postponed. Broken. The midnight urgency was not about fear. It was about interruption at the exact second repetition was about to occur. Had you moved forward blindly, the story would have felt familiar months later. The confusion, the exhaustion, the regret. But now, the pattern ends here. You responded differently. You paused. You prayed. You delayed. You observed. And in doing so, you shifted your future. Do you understand what that means? It means the next chapter of your life will not resemble the previous ones. The same types of emotional traps will not succeed. The same forms of manipulation will not override your discernment. The same rushed decisions will not steal your peace. You have crossed into precision. Precision is when your spirit and your decision-making move together. When your intuition and your obedience align. When your boundaries and your compassion coexist without conflict. That is where you stand now. The woman who once represented misalignment no longer carries authority in your story. Whether she remains in the background or fades entirely is no longer the central issue. The central truth is this: her influence cannot redirect you again. Because you see clearly now. Archangel Michael stands not only as defender but as witness. Witness to your growth. Witness to your obedience. Witness to your elevation. There is visible favor ahead. Not loud, chaotic success, but steady increase. Respect earned naturally. Opportunities aligned cleanly. Relationships built on mutual clarity. You will notice something beautiful in the coming weeks. Decisions will feel lighter. Not because they are smaller, but because they are not entangled. You will move without hidden tension. That is freedom. And here is the final revelation. The tragedy that was coming your way was never your destiny. It was a possibility waiting for agreement. When you withdrew agreement through obedience, it lost power. Heaven does not force protection. It partners with response. You responded. And now your future reflects it. Carry this wisdom forward. When urgency shouts, pause. When pressure rises, pray. When confusion swirls, delay. Those three actions will guard you repeatedly in the years ahead. You are no longer easily shaken. You are no longer easily rushed. You are no longer easily deceived. This is maturity sealed through experience. Now seal this moment with faith. Type "I walk in divine precision" in the comments if you receive this confirmation. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your next season. Heaven has marked this shift. And as this message closes, understand something sacred. The same God who warned you before midnight is still speaking. The same protection that covered you can cover thousands more. When you release super thanks, step into membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are placing seed into fertile ground where warnings become rescues and rescues become testimonies. The Lord declares over you, give, and it shall be given back to you. pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Let your offering become oil that keeps this prophetic light burning across nations. As you act in obedience, may protection surround your household and favor pursue your steps. Do not hesitate. Move as one who knows they were saved for purpose,